Hey everyone, Dave here. Welcome to a new Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're talking again about Hydra. Hydra Clan Boss is one of the least liked content in the game, even by me, but we have to do it. If your account is in mid game, probably won't be able to do it early game unless you have 6 like champs with masteries and everything. Normal is easy, so you can get that 1 key normal, which is 6.6 million. And if your old clan is doing the same, then you'll get your 2 chests from there. Eventually, you'll get Mithrala, which is an excellent champ, one of the best Void Legos in the game. So just for getting Mithrala, you'll get this done anyways. And if you're into mid game with a good level of gear, probably you can 1 key normal and maybe 2 key hard. Um, Let me actually no. Probably you won't be able to do that because you'll need like what 18 champs because of the fact that you cannot use the same team twice in the same week. So that's the thing. So probably you can just 2 key hard and that's it. If you're mid game, you just build 2 teams with good gear and 2 key hard if your clan at that level. When you start thinking about brutal and nightmare, it becomes really difficult for the gear requirement. So that's one thing. The other thing is the crazy amount of RNG, even with like the proper level of gear. If you check Hydra videos from Nubrates, for example, who is, in my opinion, the best one who puts out videos about Hydra, you see whole of his team like with what 500 resistance, and still it doesn't work sometimes on Nightmare, which is super silly. So, when you're hitting Hydra, whatever level you're hitting, you want a couple of things. One thing is that to decrease that gear requirement as much as you can, which is what I'm doing here, I'm ignoring resistance completely for the sake of the other stats on the team. And the other thing is that you want a single team. Like, let's say that you can have one good key. Well, the time factor in games, the crazy time factor is another thing here. Let's say that you can do one good key to 1 key hard or brutal or whatever, and then you don't have a secondary team. So you need this team to be ready at the beginning of the week. I think the reset happens on Tuesday night, so Wednesday basically, or from Wednesday to Tuesday, and you want this team to be able to hit all Hydra rotations, preferably on auto. You can, of course, target Hess or whatever when someone gets eaten, but you don't want to keep swiping champs and figuring out which rotation is this. We have the fear heads and we'll use this champ. Well, if you're enjoying Hydra and the challenge there on a weekly basis, consuming a lot of time and RNG, be my guest, do that. But I'm talking about the majority of us. You want one team to hit all rotations, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I have an older video explaining this team, but I've changed my team and gear since then. So I want to talk about the new team that I'm using now, or rotation. On brutal, it can do nightmare, but yeah, I don't have time or patience to do that. And the other thing is that we'll check Hell Hades website while we're doing so because each one of these champs fill 1 or 2 roles. So we can replace them by other champs, probably like you see in the other content creators video, but I'll try to give you substitutions for each of the champs that I'm using by checking just the buffs and debuffs on Hades website. Before we do this, today is Ancients 2X and we're doing the champ chase for Emec. I already got a bunch of points from like fusing 3 versions of the Epic and also a couple of Relic Keepers and Broadmost. I'm really feeling down about the point inflation in the fusion. And the second thing is my luck. Yeah, you've seen, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the last Summon Rush videos that we've done with those secrets, it was brutal. Just torture. But yeah, so I'm only opening Ancients today. I'm holding my Ancients for a guaranteed Lego or whatever. I'm only opening Ancients to cover the gap for the champ chase because I want to save myself like a couple of events at the end. So let's say that I think I need 4 epics, more or less, but let's see. We'll just pull 10 or 20 and go check the points. If I have all the points, we'll just stop there. And I'll do the same on my main, and then we'll start talking about Hydra. I'm so disappointed that I don't want to like make dedicated someone videos anymore. Okay? You see here? Okay, that's an excellent pool. Actually, that's a great pool, and probably we got the point already. We'll stop there, and we have enough shards for a guaranteed Lego. Helicath, of course, this account wasn't playing when Helicath came out, so I went for a guaranteed Demetha, and I'm going for Emec, and I have two man eaters. So probably I'll release a video about which clan boss team I'll decide on going for and why. Because I'm three keying Ultra Nightmare right now and one keying Nightmare, but I'm looking for that upgrade. I don't think my gear level on the Crazy account is good enough for a one key Ultra Nightmare, but at least I can do two key Ultra Nightmare, one key Nightmare, and save myself some time per day or hit Brutal. So Helicath is an awesome pull here. From 20 Ancients, I think that's great. So let's make sure we got the points, and then we'll stop there and save the rest of the shards. Okay, come on. So, oh, we still didn't get the points. Okay, then maybe we'll get two Legos. Maybe the game will make up for whatever. So 400. Okay, we need like 200 points now. Let's get another Lego. Okay. Well, my mood just enhanced today. And now the game is back to our previous luck. A 10 pull of blues on a 2x is really bad. Okay. Annex is good, and I think I got a soul stone for him last time. So I think we have the points now. So maybe I will consider Annex. I'm not sure he got like some turn meter stuff going on, so he's not easy to fit as a clan boss damage dealer for unkillable teams, but he does a lot of damage and debuffs. So maybe I'll try to fit him in somewhere. Like I said, we're super lucky on this account. We have all of the unkillable champs now. Like, I missed Mighty Uku while I wasn't playing when Mighty Uku was out, but I just got him from a Sacred Shard on a previous video, and I missed Helicath Fusion, and now I have Helicath Fusion. This account is still super lucky. Okay, let's get on my main, open a few ancients, and then continue what we're talking about. So, I didn't record this, but because I missed to start the recording, and now I'm paranoid, but basically I opened 20 ancients and I got Countess Licks, which is new to my main account, but she won't get much use. So we're opening another 10 to see whether we get the points, and then we'll continue talking about our Hydra team. Will any of the champs we pulled, like Helicath, work on a Hydra team? No, because unless you have a ton of resistance, they will steal the block damage, and then it will make your life much harder on Hydra. Okay, I got the points, so we'll stop there and go back to talking about Hydra team. So, what we'll do now, I have a Hydra run on Brutal that I've recorded. I'll play it to you, just explaining the mechanics and why we chose the champs. I won't leave it run because it's too long. I'll just skip through it, show you a couple of important points, and then we'll check the gear and go to Hell Hades website. We'll check the gear and the substitutes for each role. So this is a recording. I started recording just after I started the run. I'll tell you why in a sec. So the fastest on my team is my Duchess. Why do you need Duchess or someone in her role? We're talking all rotations now. Duchess is so powerful. Duchess applies perfect veil on the whole team. For this rotation that we were recording on, it didn't make a difference because we don't have the fear head. When you have the fear head, that light blue head that usually starts here, probably if I remember correctly, any champ who attacks that head without a perfect veil gets through fear, which puts your skills on cooldown with losing your turn and all of that nasty stuff. And it cannot be resisted, even if you have 1,000 resistance. So, Duchess being the fastest and applying the perfect veil on everyone for 2 turns protects them from that. Is there other champs to fill this role? Very few, but we'll check the index after we finish this to show you the different options there. So she must be fast so she can put that perfect veil before anyone else takes a turn. Then the second on my team is my provoker. Best provoker for this role, in my opinion, is Molly Tankard because Molly fills multiple roles here. So my Molly already took a turn. Three of my champs already took a turn before I started that recording, and I'll tell you now why now. So Molly applies provokes for one turn, and she has a 50% chance to apply it for two turns. You want to free regroup, if we're talking Hydra, till you get lucky with that two-turn provoke to make sure that you started that run on good terms. So that the head of cleanse, whatever it's called, won't cleanse the rest of the heads, because that can be really tough, especially when it's paired with the second head, which is the poison cloud head, because if the poison cloud puts the poison cloud buff on everyone, you're only weak hit, and it will be very difficult to retrieve champs when they are eaten and all of this. Which brings me to the next champion list, which is Uku. Ugu is one of the excellent champs for Hydra that I'm considering building a second one of her. Why? Because Ugu applies that block, well, decrease defense, which increases your damage, and that block buffs. She applies it, she gets back to it, she heals the whole team with her A3. So the combination of applying the provoke and then putting block buffs will make sure that you won't get poison cloud and you won't get those either the cleanses or then the shields on the other heads. So those are the three that took turns so far. The other three on my team are just damage dealers. If you can have strong enough support champs to fill these three roles, you have three spots for damage dealers. The three damage dealers I have are Mishinaki, Acrisia, and Newt. Acrisia is a Void Lego, but it can be a Royal Guard, it can be a Husk. Mishinaki is very good, like very few champs fill the same role. Why Mishinaki is there? Because Mishinaki got a few things in his kit. I think he's taking a turn now. So with his A3, Mishinaki applies Hex on all like the heads. Why is Hex important for Hydra? Because that head, the head that steals the buff and spread them, it cannot be targeted. You have a 75% chance of, if you try to hit someone else, unless it has a Hex. Then you can target it directly. And then if you like don't have Hex and it steals one of your champs, it's very difficult to get them back. Unless you have a ton of AoE, like you have Husks AoE, enemy max HP, and Royal Guards AoE, just to be able to get them back. So, and also, of course, I have Brimstone. So I have Brimstone on Molly, on Newt, on Mishinaki. Do I have it on Acrisia? Probably I have it on Acrisia too. So you can only apply one Brimstone at a time. But because I don't have any 6 stars, so I'm putting it on multiple champs. So I increase my chance of keeping it up there and increasing my potential for damage. Then Newt comes in. I start with his A2, if I remember correctly, because I want to have decreased defense from Uku and weaken from Newt. And then here comes the big AoE chunk from Acrisia or Royal Guard or Husk. So if you notice the speed tune, that's also how you want to have it. You want your debuffs, decrease defense and weaken, placed before your damage dealers. Of course, if you have someone who applies only, like, let's say, block buffs, like Umbral Enchantress, I have a dedicated video on her, an excellent champ, then you let her apply the block buffs, and then it can be followed by someone like Dracomorph or Venus, Void Lego, okay, or maybe just Lydia. Everybody will have Lydia if you finish Faction War, so Lydia can fill in this role. The thing is, you can have, let's say, 3 support champs, well, slash provokers, at the buffer, like Lydia or Madame Ceres or whatever, and 2 damage dealers. But the 2 damage dealers need to be strong enough, because if you notice here, like Acrisia has my most like crit damage, so she will be the one that gets eaten first. When a damage dealer gets eaten, you need to have at least 1 or 2 other damage dealers to hit hard enough to get them back. Otherwise, you won't be able to, especially towards the end of the run when it's only 2 turns and not five turns. So you notice here we're doing more of the same. So probably, I'm not sure how much else I would show you this. One other important debuff that you want on the team, and that's why one of the reasons Mishinaki is so good. But Note also fills that role, which is decrease attack. I'm talking about same team for all rotations. If the rotation has that red head, the head of vengeance or whatever, the head that hits hard, basically that's the attack head. You want to keep two things on it: attack down so that it won't hit you too hard, and block buff so it doesn't apply attack up on yourself. If you have the team, so all of my team took turns now. How is this handling all of the 6 hits? I'm handling the poison cloud hit by just keeping block buffs on all the time. It's the same way that I'm handling the buff stealing hit, because I don't have enough resistance, I don't have tank in this team, I don't have a buff tank on this team or whatever they call it, because it also has block buffs all the time. The other hits have block buffs most of the time, so it won't steal the buffs, and if it stole the buffs, it won't be able to spread them. So that's 2 hits out of the gate. Provokes, continuous provokes as much as possible, consistent provokes, let's say, keeps the cleanse head out of your way. Decreased attack and block buffs also keeps like that head, that 4th head, which is the attack head, the heavy hitting one, also out of your way. And then we have 2 heads that are not here now. Probably they will get spawned in a while. The fear head, that's what Duchess is for with the perfect veil for, or the second mechanic if you don't have a strong veil applying champ, is Inspector Shemail. Inspector Shemail will do a lot of damage and will prevent your team from being feared. The last head, which is the head of, I don't know, that applies that pain buff on you, it just applies provoke. So like Ogu with the cleanses can help with that. So that's how we handle the 6 heads that are rotating across different rotations. And then, yep, so we'll see here. Let me just speed up a little bit to show you when a different head is spawned. So we have that head, and okay, so this is the head of fear, and that's why also you need a single team that can counter all 6 heads, because when you kill a head, a different head will come. So now we have the fear head, but we have perfect veils on everyone, so we're good there. And I think we'll get the 6 head, which doesn't matter. The 6 head is the least of your worries because it doesn't do much other. Yeah, here it is. It doesn't do much other than provokes, so we should be okay there. And then you see I've killed the attack head. You need to notice, so Duchess Veils decrease the damage you're taking, and you need attack down, decrease attack on that red head, because that red head can be the main reason you are free regrouping a lot of times, because you don't have decrease attack, and then it gets to that crazy number of like 14 hits on that buff or skill that it has, and then it will hit you really, really hard and wipe all of your team in a single time. What is Molly also doing besides the consistent provokes on the provoke hit? When you get hit by an AoE, which a lot of these hits do, like we just seen, Molly increases the turn meter of the whole team. So she's sort of a passive turn meter booster. That's why I don't need speed up on this team. And the other thing is that she got a single target revive, so she's complementing what Duchess does. Ugo is not dependable as a reviver because of that weird mechanics that everybody else needs to be down. So I've shown you how the mechanic works here, and you see, let me just, because I don't want you to spend like the whole time watching this. If you see here, for me this is not a good key because with the same team, you notice here that buff stealing is really nasty when it happens. It's a bad run. I didn't save it. I didn't save that key, but I can easily one key brutal even on a bad run with this team. I can even one key nightmare with the level of gear I'm showing you. So let's check our first champ. I'll check them, well, like related to which one goes first in the runs. So where's our Duchess? Here's my Duchess. This is Duchess I'm using. You'll notice here that's her speed. That speed probably is good enough even for Nightmare. And she has a lot of resistance. Probably she's the only one with that resistance. What do you want on Duchess? For her to be faster than all the heads to apply that perfect veil. Lots of resistance if you can have it. And then lots of HP and defense. If we're talking in-game dodges, that's not too much. Probably you need like 80, 90k HP and 4k defense at least. So that's my Duchess, and that's what you need from her. Masteries. My Duchess is in like Swift Parry, but it's not necessary. And these are the masteries. Okay, it's showing. Okay, now let's go to El Hades website and see who we can replace the Duchess with. Finally, the perfect Veil and Veil page loaded from El Hades website, and let's see who can do this. So the two good ones that I know of, I would say that best for Hydra are of course Duchess and Tatura Rhymehide, who was a fusion way back. Rictor's Wrath is a good option because she applies a perfect bail, she heals the team, and she has a single target revive, but I would say to a lesser extent if you're targeting higher difficulties Hydra. Yes, she can be used with crazy gear. If you move from the Lego to the epic options, you're putting more pressure on your gear. So, so that's I would say that the only valid options here are Duchess and Tatura. I'm not sure what Truath does. Truath. So let's see. He's one of the newer Legos. Places a perfect Veil buff on all allies for 2 turns with a 4 turn cooldown. Yeah, he's usable. What is the rest of his kit? I don't know this guy. Okay, looks like he's an okay healer and perfect veiler, if that's a word, but I would say again, like, yeah, your two practical options are only Duchess and Tatura Rhymehide. The only other substitute is Shmail, because Shmail, his passive, prevents the whole team from getting feared. So every time someone tries to fear you, actually, if you have a Shmail on the team, you'll switch to the strategy that you're trying to attack the fear head, because every time you attack it, Shmail will just counter attack it when it tries to apply those fears on you. So for the Veil role and one of the support uh, uh, roles, you either have Duchess and Tatura or simply Shmail. Shmail even might be easier because if you have Shmail covering that fear section, you're completely free to use any strong healer and reviver with the team instead of just sticking to the perfect veil options. Tatura hits hard and he have another couple of useful buffs. So Duchess, Tatura, or uh, Shmail. Okay, let's check our second champ on the list, which is Molly goes second, I believe, on that team. So let's go check her if I can ever find my Molly. So my Molly here, these are her masteries, and if we check the gear, probably I haven't made a dedicated video about Molly yet. All of my champ showcases are in Relentless, which is not practical for most players, but I'm just telling you best case scenario. Why I want Molly in Relentless? Because I want her to get back to her provoke as much as possible fast to keep it on that provoke head all the time. So these are okay stats. 5k defense probably is a little bit on overkill. Maybe I can drop her by like 1k defense and invest more in like 15k HP. 255 is okay. She's faster than the heads. And like I said, I'm not focusing on resistance. 426 accuracy is okay. You might want even to target 500k if you're talking Nightmare Hydra. And yeah, she just applies the provokes there. So those are the two. My third one that goes on that team to apply block buffs is my Ugu. Ugu is in random gear, as you can see, because the stats is the most important part for her. As you can see, lots of HP. She can use more defense, probably 4k or whatever, but speed is important. I gave her some resistance. So like I said, realistically, when I move to brutal resistance, it doesn't make much sense. And then probably if I can get her above 400 accuracy, it would be even better. And she'll work all the way on to Nightmare as well. So those are the three. Let's check the damage dealers. And by now, because I already showed you the stats before, actually, we missed something here. Yeah, that's not what I promised you. So let's go to the debuff section again and check. Come on, come on. And check the provokes. Now we need someone who applies provokes and someone who applies block buffs. So if we go to provoke, the good news is it's only one head that can be provoked. So if it's a single target provoke, it will work also fine. So if you have anger, anger applies AoE provoke, which will apply to that head, and he does hit hard and he's HP based, so he's tanky. So he might be an option for you. Bevald is one of the good options for provoke because he has provoke on two of his skills. I'm using Bevaldum as my second provoker on lower like difficulties. Drixar is good because of the HP burn with his passive, so he can be your passive damage dealer and can be your provoker as well. Grazor, of course, is a great option. I don't know Chromax. This guy, I know that he's quite bad. Harima, she does a ton of damage, and her second role would be provokes. Iron Brago, defense based. His passive increases the defense of the whole team, so he can also be a good option of provoke. Coronar, HP based, can do a lot of damage. You see here with provoke, you have a ton of options there. Krisk, of course, Martyr. I'm not sure about Nari, and probably Rafmatab will work as well. We're talking about options here. Vizix and Sigmund would work as well. Turagi might work too, and his passive will apply poisons, and he has a life protect. Umbral, no, not a good use of her. Vogus, maybe if you don't have anyone better. Versov might work. War Chief and can second role as if you put enough resistance on him, he'll also be your mischief tank. Yeah, that's what they're calling it. Burangiri, no. Husk does enemy max HP, and his A1 applies provoke, but it's not consistent. It's not 100%. Seeker can be a good option because Seeker will boost the team turn meter with his A2. He hits hard if you build him anyway for your clan boss team, and he attacks twice on his A1 with a chance to apply provoke. The only thing is that sometimes that provoke hit is force, so he might weak hit it. He might not be consistent. So, like you said, like you've seen, there is a lot of options for provoke. Let's now go to block buffs and then check our option there. So Archbishop Penthroy is a good option. Deliana hits hard. She's a good option because she will second as a damage dealer. Contra applies so many debuffs, including block buffs, and she can also apply provoke. But from my experience, I tried my Contra. It's hard to set it up. Mighty Uku is great. So Mighty Uku is also applies like decrease accuracy, probably decrease attack and block buffs, and he steals the buffs if the heads get buffs themselves. So Mighty Uku is a great option there. Lady Kemi, great option as a speed booster as well. Supreme Gaelic applies lots of the buffs there, so he's also a good option. And then Ugo, of course, and that's it. So those are your options for block buffs. Yeah, something that's worth mentioning at this point because the other champs on this team are just damage dealers. So for a Hex champ, which can also apply damage, if you went for that guaranteed Akmetum, he's also on my secondary team. So he's fast enough with enough accuracy, and then just a bit of survivability and lifesteal because he just gains life back from when those poison sticks. So he applies Hex on all the enemies. So yeah, he's a great option if you don't have a Hex champ. But then the best in that slot, of course, because he applies Hex and other stuff, is Mishinaki. My Mishinaki is an all perception. So how I built him: fast, 100% crit rate because he hits hard, he's a damage dealer. Lots of HP and defense. He's defense based. He is defense based, isn't he? Yeah. For a minute there, I doubted that. And enough accuracy so he lands all of those debuffs. So that's how I built my Mishinaki. And then the other two damage dealers, I have a dedicated video on Noot. So fast, 100% crit rate, as much crit damage as you can build on him. Enough accuracy. I really like the buffs he's providing. So yeah, enough defense. He's defense based and some HP. And last but definitely not least, Acresia, also in Relentless, 100% crit rate, as much crit damage and speed as you can give her, and then some survivability if you can, but yeah. And accuracy, no, it's not needed on Acresia. I found that War Master provides more value for her than Flawless Execution. Someone might correct me there. I'm not 100% sure about this. Who else can we use in those spots? I think I've built my Royal Guard and my Husk ages ago, but they are not fast or accurate enough, so I'm not using them anymore. So they might be more towards a budget build if you have a lower gear level. Okay, I'm pretty paranoid about that recording. That's my Shmail. I think I've shown his stats in another video. 100% crit rate, as much crit damage as you can put on him. And then, yeah, just some accuracy because he applies through fears. And he can steal buffs with his A1, which is a 3-hitter. So, let me show you the other options. That's my Husk and Lifesteal, just because it doesn't matter. He's in leftover gear. You see, no, don't follow this. Royal Guard might be a little bit better in Savage. So you see here, super slow. That won't work on Brutal. That probably will only work on Hard, and he's even too slow for Hard. But yeah, like good stats, and then he applies some good debuffs, so I try to give him some accuracy in Savage, but yeah, he's super slow. So, but that's an idea about the stats and masteries that you want on him. So, like I said, the other three are damage dealers, so we don't have to look for options, but the best options are enemy max HP champs or champs that apply HP burn. Uh, Preferably AoE HP burn so that it will be on anyone. If you have someone with HP burn activation, our attack is great there because it's also HP based and he's tanky enough by default. So yeah, like it's either enemy max HP or HP burn. Yeah. Anything else, your damage won't be that good except for Trunda. Trunda's mechanic is a bit broken there. So there's a lot of videos showing Trunda in crazy Hydra teams. And if you went for the Infinity teams like Victor Tass and those guys, you can use Corpulent Cadaver and just do a billion damage on each hit, which probably they will fix soon. So even if you have the crazy gear that's required, don't go for that. Anyways, I hope I helped you with that Hydra refresher. This team or those roles, let's say, work on all rotations and will sort you out all the way to Nightmare. Or if you're like me, a bit of a slacker, or just like you have the patience, you can easily one key Brutal and get your team, your clan, some good points for Hydra Clash. I hope that video was helpful. If you liked it and if you're still here after such a long video, thank you very much. I'll try to put time codes on the video. Please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs, and I'll see you next time.